Elite Facts presents 10 terrifying unsolved murder mysteries. Number 10. The Alphabet Murders. Typically, when serial killers murder a series of people, investigators have a short puzzle on their hands. This case is no different. 3 children were brutally murdered in the early 1970s. Their names: Carmen Colon, Wanda Walkowitz, and Michelle Mayenza. They all had alliterative initials in their names. As years passed, several people were considered to be suspects, and then they were cleared. It wasn't until 2011, 41 years later, that Joseph Nasso, then 77 years old, was arrested for murdering 4 women in California in the late 1970s. He would have never been considered a suspect in these New York murders if it wasn't for the names of his California victims: Oxine Rogash, Pamela Parsons, Tracy Tafoya, and believe it or not, another woman named Carmen Colon. He has still not been charged in the Alphabet Murders. Number 9. The Zodiac Killer. The Zodiac Killer, like most serial killers who haven't been caught, toyed with police and sent cryptic notes bragging about the 37 lives he had taken. Investigators have tied him to at least 5 murders during December 1968 and October 1969. Poor DNA technology is to blame for not tying the serial murderer to other killings. Over the years, over 2,500 potential suspects were interviewed as people of interest. None were ever charged. People have come forward claiming that family members are the killer, but there was no good DNA evidence at the time. The murder remains unsolved. Number 8. John Benet Ramsey. This is the murder that rocked a nation. In 1996, 6-year-old John Benet Ramsey, a child beauty pageant queen, was found dead in her home in Boulder, Colorado. Her parents reported her missing, and then 8 hours later she was found. An autopsy revealed that John Benet had been struck in the head and strangled. It was long believed that her parents and brother had something to do with the murder. DNA cleared them. John Mark Carr confessed to the crime, but it was later found that his DNA wasn't a match either. To this day, no one has been charged with the murder of John Benet Ramsey. Number 7. SS Orang Medan. We're no strangers to tales of tragedy on ships. This one may be the most terrifying. In 1947, there were distress signals being sent from SS Orang Medan to other ships asking for help. The message disclosed that everyone on the ship was dead, including the captain. When the ship was found, everyone was indeed dead. Their faces were frozen with fear, and all of their arms were reached out. This case has never been solved. Number 6. The Axeman of New Orleans. In 1918, a New Orleans grocer, Joseph Maggio, and his wife were killed in their sleep with an axe that was found in their home, still covered in their blood. The axeman killed 8 other people before he stopped, and he was never caught. Number 5. The Boy in the Box. What's harder than a murder without an identifiable suspect? A murder without an identifiable victim. In 1957, a young boy between 4 and 6 years old was found in a box along Susquehanna Road in northeast Philadelphia. The boy was dry and clean, and he was well groomed, his hair cut, his nails trimmed, etc. It's believed that this was done to conceal the child's identity. There were clumps of hair stuck to his body, so it's thought that he was groomed after or right before he was killed. He was never identified, nor was the killer. The case is open and unsolved. Number 4. The Goodhart Murders. The Robinsons, a family of 6, were found murdered in 1968 in their cabin while vacationing on Lake Michigan. They were all shot to death, and despite there being suspicions and allegations, no one has been charged with the murder nearly 50 years later. Number 3. The Murder of the Grimes Sisters. After seeing a movie in Chicago, Barbara and her sister Patricia went missing. This was in 1956. About a month later, their bodies were found in a Chicago suburb. They were frozen and naked. In 2010, a police investigator reopened the case and tried to find new leads. A girl who claims she was with Patricia and Barbara on the night of their disappearances come forward. She's not a suspect, and she claims she was too scared to come forward before. No information has been released yet as far as what information she has. Number 2. The Sun Family Murders. Recently, in March 2014, Mr. and Mrs. Sun and their 2 young boys were murdered in the Chinese community of Cypress, Texas. An intruder is believed to have gone into the home and shot each member of the family in the head 4 times. There has been intense investigation, and some tips have come in from the community, but the case is still unsolved. Number 1. The Frankfurt Slasher. Named for the area that the murders took place, Frankfurt, Pennsylvania, the Frankfurt Slasher killed 9 people over the span of 5 years in the late 1980s and early 1990s. The MO was always the same. The victim was sexually assaulted and then stabbed. Eyewitness accounts placed a white man with the victims before they were killed. Then an arrest was made. Leonard Christopher, a black male, was arrested and given a life sentence. People were quick to point out that his description did not match that of the suspected killer, yet he was still convicted. Months later, the 9th victim was murdered. Leonard Christopher would not have been able to commit the crime, so the Frankfurt Slasher is still on the loose, somewhere. Subscribe for more.